Welcome back to Headlines. I'm Wes Austin, and these are today's top stories. First up, in a last-minute move, Joe Biden preemptively pardons Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, and members of the January 6th committee because nothing says totally innocent like accepting a pardon before you've even been charged. Then AOC has a full-scale meltdown on Instagram declaring Trump's inauguration the eve of authoritarianism, which is rich coming from someone who is all for censorship of anyone she doesn't agree with. Back in the White House, President Trump is wasting no time signing an executive order that defines sex as male and female. The left is outraged. Apparently, they were really counting on that X option on their passports. What does that even freaking mean, having the X on there? And finally, Trump is cleaning house, stripping security clearances from the 51 intelligence officials who pushed the Russian disinformation lie about Hunter Biden's laptop. Let's dive in. Accepting a preemptive pardon doesn't mean you're guilty. It's like putting on a ski mask and a bulletproof vest before going to the bank. It's totally normal. Just hours before President Biden was supposed to depart the White House, he pardoned Dr. Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, and members of the January 6th committee. Do you remember back when Biden said he would not be issuing any preemptive pardons before he left office?
President Trump is reportedly considering a wave of preemptive pardons. Does this concern you?
It concerns me in terms of it, what kind of precedent it sets and how the rest of the world looks at us as a nation of laws and justice. You're not going to see in our administration that kind of approach to pardons.
So Biden said he wouldn't issue preemptive pardons, and then he did. At least he's consistent and always doing the opposite of what he says. What does Chuck Schumer think about preemptive pardons?
The president's reportedly asking his staff whether he can issue preemptive pardons for himself, his family members, Rudy Giuliani. There's a simple answer: no. No, Mr. President, that would be a gross abuse of the presidential pardon authority.
Oh, sorry. Schumer was only saying if President Trump did it, it would be a gross abuse of presidential pardon authority. If President Biden does it, it's fine. It's not hypocrisy. It's just selective outrage with the side of gaslighting. Fauci accepted the pardon and thanked Biden in a statement which said this: "Let me be perfectly clear. I have committed no crime and there are no possible grounds for any allegation or threat of criminal investigation or prosecution of me." Wow, this is deep. The fact is, however, that the mere articulation of these baseless threats and the potential that they will be acted upon create immeasurable and intolerable distress for me and my family. For these reasons, I acknowledge and appreciate the action that President Biden has taken today on my behalf. Fauci accepted a pardon for crimes he says he didn't commit. I mean, we've all been there. Who hasn't helped cause a global pandemic and then violate the civil liberties of virtually the entire country? I mean, who hasn't played God with public health? Giving Fauci a preemptive pardon is like O.J. Simpson getting a Lifetime Achievement Award in crime prevention. General Mark Milley also issued a similar statement, writing this: "My family and I are deeply grateful for the President's action today. After 43 years of faithful service in uniform to our nation, protecting and defending the Constitution, I do not wish to spend whatever remaining time the Lord grants me fighting those who unjustly might seek retribution for perceived slights. I do not want to put my family, my friends, and those with whom I served through the resulting distraction, expense, and anxiety." Milley says he doesn't want to spend his remaining time fighting retribution for perceived slights. Oh, you mean betraying your commander-in-chief? Yeah, just a little tiff. Would really hate for treason to inconvenience you in your golden years. Biden pardoning Fauci, Milley, and the January 6th committee is like a chef giving Michelin stars to their own restaurant, except the food poisoned half the customers. Well, let's hope that Biden doesn't try to pardon anyone else in his final 2 minutes in office. Wait, this just in. Biden pardoned his siblings just minutes before leaving office. He pardoned James Biden, Sarah Jones Biden, Valerie Biden Owens, John Owens, and Francis Biden. The president argues that his family could be subject to politically motivated investigations after he leaves office. So that's what the 10% for the big guy was paying for. AOC might be off her meds. She seemed to have a meltdown on Instagram to give us the shocking news that she wasn't going to President Trump's inauguration. AOC called it the eve of authoritarianism, but to everyone else, it was just a Sunday on Instagram.
We are on the eve of an authoritarian administration. This is what 21st century fascism is starting to look like.
AOC said we're on the brink of fascism. But let's be honest, she calls anything she doesn't like fascism. Starbucks out of oat milk? Fascism. Someone using a plastic straw? Super fascism.
All these journalists are like, Congresswoman, are you going to the inauguration? Congresswoman, are you going to the inauguration? Are you going to the inauguration? Let me make myself clear. I don't celebrate. So no, I'm not going to the inauguration tomorrow.
Didn't ABC News just pay $15 million to settle the lawsuit for saying what AOC just said? If her IQ dropped any lower, she'd need a helmet just to use Instagram. President Trump's back in office, and his first act is something the left's been trying to cancel for years: biology. The left's been trying to cancel biology harder than they've been trying to cancel MyPillow. As one of his first acts, President Trump will issue an executive order defining a person's sex as male or female, requiring government agencies to use the proper designation on forms and on identification. The order will also implement changes to federal prison policies that govern transgender inmates. Trump's getting back to basics by defining sex as male and female. It's nice to see a president who understands what the rest of us learned in kindergarten. One of the policies included in President Trump's order will prevent people from changing their sex on U.S. passports and will also prohibit them from selecting X as a gender. No more X on passports, because if you can't decide between M or F, you might be too confused to navigate an airport. Next up, teaching the left that 2 + 2 still equals 4, no matter how they feel about it. President Trump is cleaning house, and he's starting with spies who lie. On day one, President Trump plans to suspend the security clearances of 51 intelligence officials that had signed a letter ahead of the 2020 election claiming that reports about Hunter Biden's laptop had classic earmarks of Russian disinformation. It's almost impressive how these 51 intel officials got a whole story wrong, then doubled down on it like a drunk guy swearing he's sober because he's still holding a drink. These guys were so wrong, they could have started their own fact-checking website. Let's be honest, if these guys were any worse at their jobs, they'd be working at the DMV. Thanks for watching Headlines. I'm Wes Austin. Good night.